Canada is the second largest country in the world after Russia. It's a constitutional monarchy with two official languages, English and French. The capital city is Ottawa, and Canada was actually one of the first Western countries to officially adopt multiculturalism as a national policy. This multicultural approach embraces the diversity of its people from different ethnic backgrounds, cultures, and religions. One of the most interesting things? Islam is now the second largest religion in Canada, and it's growing faster than ever. Back in 1870, the first census recorded only 13 Muslims in the entire country. Fast forward to today, and that number has grown to millions. So what's behind this growth? Let's take a closer look. But before we dive in, if you want to request a specific country for us to talk about in the next video, especially about how Islam is growing there, just drop it in the comments. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To all the loyal viewers of the Islamic Lantern channel, we hope you're always staying strong on the path of faith. In 2024, the Muslim community in Canada continues to grow in a big way. Just to give you some perspective, back in 1870, there were only 13 Muslims recorded in the whole country. Fast forward to 2001, that number jumped to around 579,000 people who identified as Muslim. By 2021, the growth was even more impressive, with over 1.7 million Muslims in Canada, making up about 4.8% of the total population. And now, in 2024, that number has reached 5%, which is nearly 2 million people. That means, in just a few decades, Islam in Canada has seen one of the fastest growth rates in the world. Pretty amazing, right? But here's the thing. One of the biggest challenges Muslims in Canada have been facing in recent years is Islamophobia. Sadly, acts of discrimination and even violence against Muslims have been happening way too often. Islamophobia in Canada is a serious issue that really needs action. According to recent reports, many Muslims in the country experience some form of Islamophobia on a daily basis. For years, Muslim community leaders across Canada have been calling on authorities, at all levels, to step up and address this problem. Hate-fueled violence and the rise of far-right groups have made Muslims easy targets for discrimination and attacks. It's a tough reality, but it's one that needs to be talked about, and more importantly, dealt with. Alhamdulillah, in 2023, the Canadian government took a big step forward by appointing Amira El-Gawabi as the country's first ever special representative on combating Islamophobia. This position was created after a number of attacks targeting Muslims in Canada, showing just how serious the issue had become. Amira El-Gawabi, a journalist and longtime activist, is now leading the charge. Her role is to serve as an expert advisor and public representative to support and boost the government's efforts in fighting Islamophobia, systemic racism, racial discrimination, and religious intolerance. Inshallah, this move marks an important step for Canada in ensuring safety, peace, and justice for Muslims living there. Today, Islam is the second largest religion in Canada, right after Christianity. Muslims have been living in Canada since the 1870s, and most of them are based in major cities like Toronto and Montreal. The majority are Sunni, but there are also significant Shia and Ahmadiyya communities. The first Islamic religious organization in Canada was actually formed by Lebanese immigrants back in 1934 in Regina, Saskatchewan. Then just a few years later, in 1938, Canada's first mosque was built, the Al-Rashid Mosque in Edmonton, Alberta. It was a huge milestone for the Muslim community and marked the early roots of Islam in the country. At that time, the local Muslim population was estimated to be around 700 people, most of whom were immigrants from Europe. Today, that historic mosque is no longer used for regular worship. It's now part of the Heritage Park Museum complex in Edmonton, preserving its legacy as a key piece of Canadian Muslim history. Then in 1968, the first mosque in Toronto was established. It's called Jamie Mosque of Toronto, and it was started by Muslim immigrants from Bosnia and Albania who had moved to Canada. Interestingly, the building was originally an old abandoned Catholic church. A group of local Muslim leaders came together, bought it, and transformed it into a mosque. The renovation was completed by 1973, and it became a central place for the growing Muslim community in Toronto. What's also really amazing is the role of Indonesian Muslims in supporting the Muslim community in Canada. In 2021, a group of Indonesian Muslims in Toronto pooled their resources and bought a church, which they turned into a mosque. That mosque is now known as Masjid Istiqlal, Islamic Center of Toronto. It's used for the 5 daily prayers, Friday prayers, and even for big celebrations like Eid. It's a beautiful example of unity and dedication from the Indonesian Muslim community in Canada. Still in the same province, in Toronto, to be exact, there's also the Al Rahman Islamic Center for Islamic Education. Since the city is so close to the U.S. border, a good number of students actually come from across the border in America too. Living a halal lifestyle in many Canadian cities isn't that hard. There are quite a few meat suppliers that guarantee their products are halal. Halal certification in Canada is also part of a global network, working in partnership with organizations from Muslim-majority countries. Some of the main halal certifiers in Canada include the Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, and the Halal Monitoring Authority, HMA. These organizations are there to make sure halal products are legit. They handle things like inspections, setting standards, and keeping an eye on halal labeling, so Muslims in Canada can shop with confidence. Dear awesome viewers of Islamic Lantern, as the holy month of Ramadan approaches, Muslims in Canada start getting ready, especially on a spiritual level, to welcome this special time of year. One thing that's pretty unique in Canada is the long fasting hours. Depending on the region, fasting can last over 16 hours a day, which definitely adds an extra challenge for Muslims living there. During Ramadan, mosques become the heart of the community. Every night, they host terawih prayers, and you'll find people coming together to worship, reflect, and connect. Muslim communities also organize group suhoor and iftar events, where everyone gathers to eat, share food, and enjoy the spirit of togetherness. It's a beautiful time for giving back too. Many take the opportunity to donate to those in need. And of course, Ramadan wraps up with a joyful celebration, Eid al-Fitr, the festival that marks the end of fasting, filled with prayer, feasting, and lots of smiles. As the sun begins to rise in the east, the sound of takbir echoes through mosques across Canada, marking the arrival of Eid al-Fitr, a celebration of victory after a month of fasting. Muslims gather at mosques and prayer spaces for the special Eid prayer, dressed in their best, with hearts full of joy. It's a time to be with family and friends, to share food, laughter, and celebrate the strength it took to complete Ramadan. Across Canada, both the government and local communities often hold events and campaigns to raise awareness about Ramadan and Muslim culture. Even the Prime Minister usually shares a special Ramadan greeting each year, a sign that Islam is becoming more recognized and respected in Canadian society. Let's all pray together that Islam continues to grow in peace, acceptance, and strength, not just in Canada, but all around the world. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Alright, Islamic Lantern fam, that's it for today's video. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one, inshallah. Take care, and assalamu alaikum.